Aliens are cool. Predators are also cool. Quick everyone, let's smash them together before Mum comes home. In 1989, Dark Horse comic writers Sandy Stradley and Chris Warner brainstormed the idea for a new concept. What if aliens and predators existed in the same universe though? You know, them there creatures from them there the movies that everyone loves. What madness could possibly ensue? All of the madness, that's how much. And so they released a comic with a decent storyline and a combined lore that sparked the imaginations of tons of creative types. And the comic was great and everybody loved it. Things really went into overdrive the following year when Predator 2 came out and Danny Glover's protagonist spied a slain xenomorph skull. A scene as worn out on VHS tapes as Sharon Stone's crossed-legged lady clam shot in Basic Instinct. What an exciting concept that was! Finally on the mainstream audience shelf of your local blockbuster. I am of course referring to the Aliens vs Predators and not Sharon Stone's lady clam. But we were left waiting and waiting and waiting until a long time later, over a decade, movies of the dueling pair combining and smacking each other about would finally emerge and prove to be really poor. Actually, it was very disappointing. But before those cinematic travesties were aborted live and squelchy onto the cinematic screen, software houses had already got themselves working that frothy fun soap into a lather and knocked themselves well and truly out with a slew of Aliens vs Predator titles. Aliens vs Predator games range from the truly dreadful to the very good to the absolutely fantastic. All this xeno coupling made those two slow-ass cyborg boobs, Robocop and the Terminator, all jealous, and they leapt into bed together, and after a lot of piston noises and clanging, out popped a few titles that people remember a bit overly fondly. But, they never spoke again, as Robocop has now blocked Terminator on social media and called him a bitch and a slag. Going back to Alien vs Sexual Predator, as we knew we would, probably my favourite game bearing their good names was Capcom's 1994 arcade machine, released on its CPS2 hardware. Designed by Tetsuya Iyama, Toshihiko Uda and Jun Matsumara. Apologies for any mispronunciations of those fine Japanese gentlemen. As I described in my 1994 video, Aliens vs Predator was one of the last great scrolling beat-em-ups from an era that brought us the likes of Streets of Rage, Final Fight and the TMNT arcade games. That's one hell of a golden era for a genre. Bigger cabinets allowed for an odd 3 players, with the more popular smaller cabinet allowing for 2 players. There are 4 selectable characters for you to choose from, and they're quite the odd gang too. Lin Kurosawa, the obligatory Japanese schoolgirl quick character, only this time she's a hard lass in armour and is double ballsy thanks to her deciding to attack aliens with a sword and a pistol. Good luck! Then there's Major Dutch Schaefer, who, yes, looks, sounds and is named after Arnold Schwarzenegger's character from the original Predator, because why? Why not? Just go for it. It looks like Dutch has been designed by a 10-year-old who watched Predator on the sly, as he's had a power loader arm from Aliens grafted onto the side of his body and then put a smart gun on that. He's a character that has really gone, oh, I like this Alien vs Predator thing, let's really make it a thing. He's really gone for it here. Well done to him for that. They're allied with 2 predators, one a hunter and one a warrior, and that's their names too, because predator parents are terrible and probably quite neglectful, and they don't name their kids correctly. The warrior is the older one, hence him wearing beige, I guess, and he carries a spear, while Hunter favours a tasteful diarrhea brown ensemble, and he's waving around a Naginata staff, which Wikipedia tells me is like a stick with a sharp pointy thing on each end. I haven't got much to say about these two because they're a bit much of a muchness, other than their match at WrestleMania 12 was terrible. The gang all meet when the human pair are saved by the predator pair, when they're overrun by xenomorphs in California, which shit has apparently gone downhill at a very, very quick pace from the look of it. The quartet form a dodgy alliance and seek to destroy the alien queen in her hive. They actually get this done pretty efficiently and quickly, and you feel a bit ripped off if you'd got this far, only using one continue. But wouldn't you know it, those goddamn Wailing Yutani bozos are behind it, so off we go again, this time kicking the chins off of dodgy marines, as well as the various xenomorphs, facehuggers, chestbursters, and a crazed predator on the way. When you track down the renegade general spearheading the operation to his dropship, the alien queen comes back, stabs him through the chest, and then you have to punch her in her outer mouth and then her inner mouth, just to make sure both mouths get a good taste of the old punchy wacky. At the end of the game, when the alien queen has been dispatched thoroughly this time, you program the dropship to crash into California, because screw all those alien invaders, that'll wipe them out, and also all 39.56 million human inhabitants too, including people such as Katy Perry, will.i.am, and just about every actor, including all those lovely Air Buddies dogs. Coming out during the height of the one-on-one beat-em-up era helped AVP immensely. Even the better scrolling beat-em-ups of the time got a little bit repetitive, thanks to most of the gameplay consisting of hammering the attack button. And yes, you still do a lot of that in AVP. However, you can also mix in some Street Fighter motions in the mix there too, and this gives the combat much greater depth. There's also a gun weapon that gives a short burst of firepower before overheating, and that may well get you out of a bind. It can also be combined and used in combos. More of that Street Fighter love coming in there. Lin, Hunter and Warrior all carry a pointy weapon too that can be knocked out of your hand, making you resort to punching aliens with your fist. At no point in the movies is this a good idea, ever. You can also pick up the usual scrolling beat-em-up food left in bins, crates and oil drums. Again, not a terribly good idea, but this time applied to real life. Please don't eat out of crates, bins and oil drums, people. And a smorgasbord of weapons like the de rigueur, drain pipes, knives, and yes, you do get to use marine weapons from Aliens too. Lovely pickups, we'll have some of them. There's really good attention to detail in the sound design as well. They've got the sound effects of the Predator's shoulder cannons, and the pulse rifle is exactly spot on. Nice. Aliens vs Predator was universally loved at the time, with Electronic Gaming Monthly saying it's everything you'd expect from the makers of games like Street Fighter 2 and The Punisher. Capcom at the time were very highly revered, as they are quite rightly at the moment. They're knocking it out of the park. GameSpot hailed the gorgeous graphics and said it was one hell of a coin cruncher. Moving on to more modern times, and Retro Gamer called it a unconverted classic, which stands tall as one of the very best examples of licensed mashups ever seen in a video game. Aliens vs Predator is, as Retro Gamer put it, unconverted. It's never appeared on any consoles, either at the time or in any of those Capcom retro packs since. However, times are a-changing, as Aliens vs Predator is finally making a home appearance, or at least a fully licensed legal one, do not look at my MAME folder or any of my folders. You know why, wink wink. On the Capcom Home Arcade thingamajig, look at it there. It's like the logo. It looks really natty. There's a few games on it, and boy is that overpriced. Toy company Nika have been producing figures based on the property for the last few years. So you can get your Dutch Schaefer with his power arm, your Lin Kurosawa, and your 2 Predator characters, as well as some of the aliens. It succeeds despite being the very best Alien vs Predator game that doesn't rely on nail-gnawing tension and adrenal fear. In fact, it's better than most Aliens games. 2 is a key factor, of course, from both movies as well. Aliens vs Predator, the arcade, is a huge success, not just because of the aliens, the predators, or even the comically obvious Arnie ripoff. All those quantities being present are fantastic, but they don't define this beat 'em up at all. They merely add to it, a cherry on top of a great pie. It's an amazing game, with truly great window dressing coming from the Aliens vs Predator license. And that's why I think out of all the AVP games, either released now or in 2010 or any time in between then, this may just be just about the best one. And well, it's certainly better than those stinking Aliens vs Predator movies. Give this a go, it may well turn you into a goddamn sexual Tyrannosaurus. I think I delivered that line about as good as Jesse the Body Ventura. I have got a very masculine, tough sounding voice after all. Yes. Good. Okay, thanks, bye.